Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show, we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Outpost. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, it's all celebrations. Yeah, we got The Outpost back. This is great. Obviously, Ren's not in a celebrating mood because she's the one that's so dedicated to, I got to keep finding a cure, because it isn't just about stopping this infection, it's about stopping my mom, and the only way to stop my mom is by making sure no one kills her, because I love her, because she is my mom, so I need to find a cure so you guys don't try to kill her. And even later on, because she's like, because obviously Ren's still under the thought of, maybe her mom was good before, and that it's the Kinch that's controlling her. And even that conversation between her and Zed, because Zed was like, oh, let me know where your mom is. It's like, no, even if I did know, I wouldn't tell you just for you to run off and kill. It's like, no, it's only a second option. She's like, do you know why I'm working so hard, tirelessly, not getting any sleep? It's like, yeah, to stop the spread of it. It's like, no, to save my mom from you guys, because you guys are set on killing her. But obviously for Zed, it's a thing of this might be the only way. Like, how do you know, Ren, that there is another way to save her, that this isn't the only way to stop this? And even because obviously it comes up later on for Zed, but it's like questioning whether or not Yavala was evil beforehand or not. And that's the thing, is this all Yavala or is this the Kinch? It's the Kinch, yes, but that still doesn't mean that I don't know, it's hard. We don't know what she knew going into this, obviously. Like, because she went into this saying, like, oh, like, the Kinch was going to lead to paradise and stuff like that. But it's like, was it like a translation error where she thought, like, she legitimately thought it was going to be paradise? Or did she always know it was going to be this way? Is the Kinch as in much control? Because it does hint to the fact that the Kinches do kind of have a mind of their own, especially the way Felista ended up being the one person that got infected. But maybe it's like the Kinches find something in it, like maybe they latch on to like they probably need a host. Like, they're like parasites. They probably I need a host. So maybe they find the nearest person that kind of resonates with them. Maybe people ending up with the particular Kinches they are. It does seem like it's just kind of like, well, Zed got his because that was the only one that was left. But it makes you wonder, is there some kind of, maybe it's not even just like a thing of well, it might not even be. It might be maybe they find the nearest host that resonates with them, or maybe it's maybe there's something special about each of the hosts that maybe Zed just happened to be special to, and maybe that applies to all Kinches. All Kinches get attracted to people that have a certain something. Maybe that's what happened with Felista, or maybe it's just the fact is that they just naturally we haven't seen a Kinch actually die. So Kinches might not be able to be killed. Like, if their host dies, sure, they'll go, maybe they can't die themselves. Maybe they'll just go find another host. Because, obviously we've seen people who've had Kinches die, but obviously the Kinches always passed on to someone else. That's how the whole thing works. But, these things probably have to spend a long time out of someone's body before they die, So, who knows? That's just, a lot of that's just, just random thoughts at this point in time. We don't know if there's any validity to that. Like I said, there's something that's, crossing my mind because of last episode and everything. But it's hard to say, once again, whether Yavala is just being, whether this is all her or whether this is the Kinch in control of her. So obviously that conversation, it brought up, it makes Zed kind of, because for him, it's like, if this is just the Kinch, it doesn't take away everything that he believed in, because he followed her all the way from the Plains of Ashes. Like, he believed in her so wholeheartedly. He dedicated his life to Yavala and believing in her. So if everything she's been doing has been a lie, it's like, what have I been believing in you for? What was it all for if this was all a lie, And obviously for Ren, it's about saving her mom. But it's like, it's like, my mom's this way because of the Kinch. It's like, and even ends up being like, really? She's like, my mom was good before. And he's like, really? And she's like, oh, no. Because it's like, even she admits that her mom wasn't the best person, but it's like, that's still my mom. Let's not forget, this is the same mom that was willing to let you die because in her mind it was like for the greater good of your people. But it's like, well, now it begs the question, was it for the greater good of your people? Was it just going to be like, oh, I can get this power and I'm willing to sacrifice my own daughter for that power, It brings a lot of that into question. So Red's kind of dealing with that as she's trying to search for a cure. Finally, we get the hammer dropped with the whole situation with Tobin and Gwen and Felista, where that gets revealed, and obviously Gwen's upset. Obviously, the way she talks about it, she does understand where Tobin's coming from, that yeah, he did it for her sake. But the way she talks about it with Talon, I thought was kind of interesting, because for her, it's like being with Tobin, it was like saving herself for Tobin. It wasn't just like a, because obviously it was like she needed his army beforehand. She needed, like they needed each other. But being with him wasn't just a mutual thing as like Queen Rosalind. This was her able to do it as just Rosalind. That was just something for herself, and to kind of have that taken away kind of sucks. Even her and Garrett talk about it later on. I thought was pretty dope. How it's like, oh yeah, when they were young, like they thought that they were going to get married. That obviously, let's not forget they were together at the very beginning. They've always, they grew up together and everything. But aside from that, it's like, well, look where they are now. It's like, because it's like, Garrett's like, well, look, my girlfriend Talon is off with her ex Zed, and your betrothed is now with someone else. So it's like, look at us sad sacks still here in the outpost waiting for him. Because even Garrett being like, I always knew you were too good for me, or not, that basically you were meant to be with someone else other than me, But that it's kind of sad to me, like, oh yeah, the people you love are kind of not with you right now under these current circumstances, But like I say, you do feel bad for Tobin, because what Tobin did, he did was out of necessity, and at the end of the day, it proved to be didn't work out, because Yavala has most of that army. So even the army he had amassed by marrying Felista, it didn't work out, because now it's like most of that army's under Yavala's control. So it's almost like, was it even worth it? Because now he's jeopardized his future with Gwen, because it's not, it's not just about, the position, about being king anymore like it was before. It's like, no, he legitimately loves her, and, he's afraid that like that, that's why he was reluctant to tell her. Like he kept explaining that to Garrett last episode, like it's like because Garrett's like, she'll understand it, and he's like, she'll never want to be with me anymore, so it's a messed up, sad, complicated situation, to the point he's in the pub getting drunk and stuff like that, which Felicia's getting pissed at him, which I think that says a lot, that like, because Gwen's the reason why he shaped up, he stopped drinking, he wasn't as bad as he was, and he's kind of started falling back in those bad habits. But Felicia's like, I get it, I'm not the person you love. She's like, do you get how hard it is for me? Like, at least if we were back home, I'd be able to like get you, like, to finally, we'd have enough distance away from all of this that I'd be able to make you fall in love with me. But now I have to literally see you sulking, and I have to cross paths with a woman that you're so obviously in love with. But it's like, it's like, despite all that, like, there's still good we can do with this. So they end up leaving, but I'm assuming it's because it's like, we had this army, we had this power of ours, so let's go make something of it. So I'm assuming, no, Tobin doesn't explain it, but I'm assuming Tobin is going out to find food, because obviously he had overheard that conversation with Rosman, with one of the guards, where it's like they were running out of food. They have like enough food to last a week. So, and obviously, there's a continued conversation about like any extra wildlife on the outskirts have been already acquired by the Lakiri, or killed by, killed by Yavala, or taken control by, so that they're not in that area anymore. So once again, the whole plan was to starve them out and everything. So all of that. So it could be that Tobin went off with Felista to make his mark. It's like, regardless if I can't be with Gwen or whatever, I'm still going to do what I can to support her and be there for her. That, it's like, that's why I made this sacrifice, that I knew I might not be with her, but I did it because it was for her benefit, for my queen's benefit. So because I do still love Gwen, and she is my queen, I would do whatever I can to help. So I think that might be what we're seeing there. Or maybe it's Tobin. I don't want to believe that Tobin's like going off, I mean, maybe, Felista has her own plans about that too, and Tobin's going along because he sees the benefits. So I don't know. Plus, we saw Felista tap into the kinge that she has a little bit, because at first Tobin's like, oh, you hit me, and it's like, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? So granted, it's like, because obviously she's not aware that she has it, and which is so interesting that the kinges are tied by emotions like that. At least hers is. Maybe maybe it depends. Maybe like different kinges are tied by different emotions. Because I mean, it never really. Well, to be fair, Talon summoned hers when she was scared. So I think if you're feeling a strong enough emotion, maybe not necessarily they probably are tied by your emotions, but probably not just necessarily one, but any strong emotion probably helps trigger them. But obviously that's when you're not in control. Obviously when you have a lot more control, you probably just have to focus and calm your mind to work the kinges. But regardless, we also learned that just because you get freed from the white kinge, it doesn't completely free you, because Gwen as well as Tobin were having visions of the Yavala's people, and seeing things through other people's eyes. So like that hive mind connection isn't 100% severed. It's there. I guess you could almost like call it like a phantom link. There's still some residual of it. I mean, granted, who knows how long before it's completely gone. But maybe it's a byproduct of the fact is that because Yavala's gotten so strong and the unity's grown so large, that maybe that's why the link wasn't completely severed, because it's grown so strong with all the people she's amassed under her control. So obviously the plan is to follow some of those followers to Yavala, wherever she's headed. Obviously, Garrett and Tobin wanted to go, but it's like, no, you guys can't. Leave it up to, Talon and Zed, because they're literally the only ones that can't be infected, along with Felista, but granted, she doesn't know that yet. So there's that. We also learned some interesting things. Talon confronts... too, about what she meant about the White Kinge. It's like the White Kinge was here the entire time, meaning you think that the White Kinge was the Kinge that was inside of the Plane of Ash, but it's not. So it turns out, obviously, when she went to see, when Zed got his Kinge last season, she saw that there were 7. So it's like, okay, so there is 7 Kinges, and there's one in the Plane of Ash, the Black Kinge, which it is death. Literal death, that anyone with it touches anyone. So obviously it could be a means. The fact is that we're introducing that must mean that, like, which begs the question, it makes you wonder, does that have something to do with because obviously like the box led to the White Kinge, so what about the Black Kinge? It makes you wonder, does it has to have something to do with Talon's dad, because obviously that was a thing too, where it's like Talon's wondering now if what Yavala said was a lie about her dad. It's like, was he actually working with her the entire time? Maybe that's the thing. Then why isn't he here? Why is he back there? So he potentially has, maybe he had 2 boxes, one that leads to the Black Kinge and one that leads to the White Kinge. Maybe it's kind of supposed to be like a yin-yang type of situation. Maybe out of any of them, those are the 2 I mean, it does not necessarily, but I mean, especially because it's the White Kinge and the Black Kinge, so there might be something there, since the White Kinge is all about mind control and unity, and the Black Kinge is straight up about death. But the fact is, they introduced that. Now, whether that's going to be a thing this season or whether that's going to be something for season 4, who knows? But what I mean by that is that something that will actually pop up this season, or is it going to become more of a thing potentially in season 4? I'd assume, like I said, I'd assume that'd have to tie in with potentially any introduction about, Talon's dad and why he was in the Plane of Ash, why her mom lied about his situation. There's so many questions on that front, because even Talon had said, like, yeah, she's got so many questions, but obviously she's got to focus on this one thing for right now. But at the same time, there's a whole situation with sparing those Primordial soldiers, because obviously it's a thing of like, well, what they did with the Black Bloods, killing Black Bloods and also making them fight each other, also making everyone in the town starve. It's like, oh, we were just following orders. It's like, the fact is that Gwen was willing to give them a second chance. I was like, because obviously Garrett's like, well, after everything that Zed did, we should have killed him, but obviously we spared him. And granted, because we spared him, your life ended up being saved, because it's thanks to him that we were able to save you. So Garrett was like, it's up to your wisdom. So obviously, considering like they have very few soldiers, because the army Tobin was trying to amass is reduced heavily now, she was planning on, giving those soldiers a second chance. Granted, that, probably would have actually been better in the long run if you had never revealed. It probably would have been better in the long run if she had never revealed that 2 was there. because what's interesting too is like, it's the fact is they don't recognize the three. Like it's like, oh, who's this random woman? Oh, this is two? That's crazy. Obviously, Gwen was there to make them submit more by being like, look at this person you worship as a god. She's just a regular woman. If she'd probably just been like, I'll spare your lives, but your loyalty is to me now. Granted, there's no guarantee that but obviously they're very much like, well, they would have stayed because it would have been about self-preservation. It's like, regardless of whether they really believed in serving Rosman, it was more a situation of, well, we didn't really have anywhere else to go, especially considering we don't have their captain to like guard them with his kinge, him being the tough baddie that he is, but also like they were just as guilty as everyone else. I mean, that's just the Prime Order in general. You know, they ended up doing a lot of terrible shit as in their reign of power. So, and those guys were no different. Like when they were just as like, they weren't just like, oh, we're following orders, we're reluctant, we're scared. It's like, no, they were just like, because they were power tripping as well. So, but it's that situation of, Gwen's trying to be merciful, plus they're in a disadvantage. They need more people. Turned out it wasn't, I was kind of hoping that they'd catch 2 before she ended up escaping. So 2's out there in the wild. 3's also out there in the wild. We don't know what's going to happen on that front. But, I mean, what does 2 plan on doing? Because, well, she's the only one that can't be infected. Literally everyone else around you can be infected. But I guess her plan is to probably bide her time until survive long enough until this whole thing is potentially dealt with, because it's not like she can really do anything against Yavala, because Yavala's kind of pseudo-immortal potentially, so it's like nothing you can do, and your kinge can't really help you. Well, it makes you wonder, would her kinge be... Well, because kinges can't affect other kinges, so she probably wouldn't be able to take Yavala's like soul, because like Yavala's kinge would probably block her from doing that. Because in general, as we see that the kinges of powers don't work on other kinges, obviously, so it makes you'd assume even something of that nature and that power still would be. Well, it makes you wonder, well, that's not 100% true now, is it? Because the black kinge could potentially, I guess the black kinge might be the only kinge that could probably work on every single kinge. So, like, it probably... Well, because that begs the question, can it kill the kinge, or does it just kill the host? Yavala's situation is different when it comes to killing the host, because her situation is she kind of got that immortality, but the black kinge could probably kill her. Then the white kinge will probably, like, bounce and probably pick someone else. Like, once again, it's like, maybe the kinges themselves are immortal, or, like I said, maybe if they're outside of a host for too long, they automatically die, so maybe that's why they've got the instinct. I mean, kind of much like the white kinge, like, we gotta, separate and spread. Maybe there's something like that to all the other kinges, that they have to separate, they need a host as well, or they die, like, maybe in, like, normal atmosphere or something like that. I don't know. Maybe something inside these, human and black blood bodies keep them going or something. I don't know. Just something to think about. On one other side of things, you have, Talon and, like I said, Zed going after Yavala, and I love that whole weird morbid bit they had, being like, okay, so what do you want to do? You want to burn Yavala, or do you want to cut off her head? And then Talon's like, cut off her head, and it's like, all right. I'm like, I love that we had to almost be like, well, who's going to do what? It's like, all right, fine, I'll burn her, you cut her. It's like, that was super morbid, but also they have to hide from the fact is because Yavala's using that Hulk to keep an eye on them, so she knows they're coming, so they have to find a way around that. At the same time, Ren and Janzo were able to discover a cure, because it turns out there's like this substance that's on the map. Granted, there's only enough for them to do 3 shots, but because whatever the material was that they mentioned, it's something that's been extinct for a couple hundred years here in this land. So, but that's also the thing, like, if this is the cure, why was there so little of it? Because it had to be a situation, because obviously they included it with the map being like, okay, if someone does open this chest, like, at least you'll have the countermeasure to this infection. Granted, I guess it kind of proves that it might be a surefire thing against Yavala. I mean, granted, they tested it out and it worked, but obviously it's kind of like a one shot because they don't have a lot of it. So they have at least 2 shots left, right? Or maybe that one shot was at least 2 shots, but now they have at least 1 or 2 shots left. But it's like, so they have to make it count, because if not, they don't have the materials needed to battle this. And obviously, Garrett wanted to bring like people with them to go with them, but they told Gwen like, no, leave this to us. And obviously they're bringing Mutt along, and Mutt being the lovable lug that he is. And I love that the synergy. It's so adorable, because obviously we got that episode where like Mutt was hugging Ren and everything, because it's like she's kind of basically like a sister to him right now too. But as having both Janzo and her being like, Mutt come on, and it's like, are they really gonna make it? It's like, I hope so, and then also it's kind of like, I forgot what it was. Mutt said something. It's like, oh yeah, there's a lot I don't understand. Mom said, be careful of things you don't understand. And Janzo was like, oh, well, that includes everything. And then Mutt's like, what's that mean? Hey, Janzo, what do you mean by that? And it's just like, you're my favorite idiot, Mutt. I love you so much. But obviously they end up making their way to like where Yavala is, and everyone's kind of bowing to Ren, because she's essentially kind of like child to the goddess type of situation. So she's getting like the red carpet situation, and it's like, okay. It's also dangerous because everyone there is infected. For them to spread it, it's so easily. So any of those three could easily get infected. But it's like, will the cure actually work? I mean, will Ren be able to get as close to her mom as she figured, like, I'm the only one that will be able to get close enough to end this? But will things work out on that front? We'll kind of, ultimately have to, wait and see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.